Okay, let's talk about Wegovy and Ozempic. I mean, these are some of the most popular, most powerful drugs out there right now. But what if they came with a risk we didn't see coming? A new study is raising a really important question about these meds that millions are taking for weight loss and diabetes. So let's get into it. And here's the big question, and it's a pretty serious one. Could these incredibly popular weight loss drugs actually harm your vision? It sounds alarming, I know, but a new analysis just published in the British Journal of Ophthalmology is suggesting we really need to be paying close attention to this. So, what's this all about? Well, researchers have spotted a potential connection, a link between these medications and a very specific and pretty serious eye condition that can cause you to lose your sight suddenly. Okay, so the condition has a pretty technical name, ischemic optic neuropathy, or ION for short. But you can think of it as an eye stroke. That's really the easiest way to understand it. What happens is the blood flow to your optic nerve just gets interrupted, and that can lead to sudden and often permanent vision loss. Now, it's rare for sure, but when it does happen, it's absolutely devastating. And the drugs being looked at here are, well, they're the ones you hear about all the time, right? We're talking about the semaglutides, so that's Wegovy, Ozempic, and the oral tablet Rybelsus. And just for comparison, the study also took a look at another big name, tirzepatide, which you probably know as Mounjaro or Zepbound. So how in the world did they uncover this possible link? It wasn't through a new clinical trial, which is what you might expect. Instead, the researchers basically became data detectives. They started digging through this enormous database of real-world reports, just looking for any hidden patterns that might pop out. And when I say enormous, I mean it. The scale here is just staggering. We're talking about an analysis of almost 31 million adverse event reports. These were all submitted to the FDA's public database over about 7 years. So yeah, this is not a small sample size. This is a massive data set reflecting what real patients are experiencing. Now, inside all that data, they zeroed in on the reports tied to semaglutide. And if you just look at the surface, you'd see that Ozempic has way more reports. But that's mainly just because it's been on the market for a lot longer than Wegovy. And as the researchers quickly realized, that total number of reports, it doesn't even come close to telling the whole story. Right. Because once you start digging past those raw numbers, the data starts to show something much more specific, a concerning statistical signal. And it points in a direction that's, frankly, pretty surprising. Okay, so here it is. This is the key finding. Even though Wegovy had way fewer side effect reports overall, it was the drug that was most strongly associated with this eye stroke. This was the first really big clue that the risk wasn't just tied to how many people were taking the drug, but maybe something about the drug itself. And if you want to put a number on it, get this. The analysis found that the odds of an eye stroke report being connected to Wegovy were nearly 5 times higher than for Ozempic. 5 times! I mean, that is a massive statistical red flag. You just can't ignore something like that. And it gets even more interesting. The data held another surprise. The risks seem to split differently depending on gender. For men, the biggest risk signal pointed straight at Wegovy. But for women, it was actually strongest for Ozempic. And across the board, the overall odds of having this condition were more than 3 times higher in men than in women. Super interesting, right? So that just raises the obvious question. Why? I mean, Wegovy and Ozempic are basically the same drug, right? They're both semaglutide. So why would they have such different risk profiles? Well, the researchers think they have a theory, and it all comes down to the dose. Okay, so the theory goes something like this. Wegovy is approved for obesity, and it's used at a higher dose than Ozempic is for diabetes. The idea is that this fast-acting, high-dose shot could maybe cause your blood pressure to drop, suddenly. And if that happens, that hypotension, that low blood pressure, could reduce the blood flow to the super delicate optic nerve and, boom, that could potentially trigger an eye stroke. And here's a really key piece of evidence that seems to back up this whole dosage idea. Remember Rybelsus, the pill version of semaglutide? It showed no detectable risk signal, none at all. And the thinking is, because it's a pill, it gets absorbed much more slowly, so you don't get those sudden changes in blood pressure that might be causing the issue. It all kind of clicks into place. All right, so we've got this surprising signal that's been pulled out of all this data. So what's the bottom line? What are the big takeaways here? What does this actually mean for doctors and, for the millions of people who are taking these drugs right now? Okay, first things first, and this is really, really important. We have to be crystal clear about what this study is and what it isn't. It's showing a statistical link, right? An association. It is not proof that one thing causes the other. You got to remember, this data is from a self-reporting system, which can be messy. We don't know about the patient's other health conditions. And, a newer drug like Wegovy gets a ton of media hype, which could influence reporting. So think of this as a smoke signal, not a raging fire. But it's a smoke signal we absolutely have to investigate. The study authors themselves put it perfectly. They said their findings point to a potential dose-dependent safety concern and that it needs urgent prospective evaluation. So, in plain English, they're saying, hey, we need more focused research to figure out if this risk is real, and we need it like yesterday. And look, this research could not be coming at a better time. The use of these drugs is just exploding. It's not just for obesity anymore. We're seeing it for heart disease. They're even being studied in children. So as millions and millions more people start taking these meds, understanding the full risk profile, well, it becomes absolutely critical. So at the end of the day, we're left with a really important question. There is no doubt these drugs offer incredible life-changing benefits. But this study is a really powerful reminder that with any powerful new medicine, we have to keep asking the tough questions. As these miracle drugs become just a normal part of our lives, what other risks might be hiding in plain sight?